Yeah, Shalom, giving all praise unto Yabashim Hashabashim Kwa Kodash, double honors unto the apostles of great millstone, and honor to brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. I'm the above our body, coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh Bashim Kwa Kodash, giving all praises unto Yabashim Hashabashim Kwa Kodash. And in this particular lesson, I just wanted to touch in on the current state of affairs as it pertains unto inflation, rising prices, price hikes, and how the cost of living pretty much is going to be increasing. And we've told you about this on multiple occasions. This free ride that people thought that they was going to get, what's known as the modern economic theory, which is the theory, you got to check it out, the modern economic theory, pretty much that a currency or country can have a monopoly on their own currency and pretty much print out however much of their currency that they want to print out with no repercussions. Now that's failed on multiple occasions, right? We take a look at the ancient Mongolian Empire, of which the Mongolians, they had a large empire over out there within the East, the ancient East. And what they did was, what they thought that they could do is, they thought that they could get away with having so much people use their currency that they could just carry on printing. Now, what they soon realized is, obviously, if you devalue your own currency, that's going to have a detrimental effect on your situation. All right, you're going to have that's going to have a detrimental impact on your situation. So we see the same thing out here within the UK, the United States, and many places across the world where people were sent home and energy prices was raised up as a result of that, where we see people weren't working for ages, but they was getting paid, and now you're seeing the result of that, which is really is like a beautiful thing, because the more tougher it gets for you people out here, the sooner we know that the Lord is gonna come back, and the sooner the Lord comes back, we can be changed from these bodies that are aching and paining, the detrimental situations that we're living in. When Yahweh Shai returns, that's all gonna go with this kingdom, man. As scripture says, death and hell shall be swallowed up. That's what it means, right? Death, the scriptures speak about how we're gonna get new bodies, so therefore death is gonna be cast into the lake of fire. And that's that's hip speech, okay? That's hip speech. And also too, the scripture says, and hell, and we know hell is the condition that's played out upon the earth. And the position of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans catching hell is going to be cast away with this kingdom. We ain't going to be catching hell anymore. So when we see these articles, really, we rejoice. Now, you might be worried about how you're going to feed your family and all of that, but the Lord's always figures out a way, right? Something always works out. Even with what's happened in the last 2 years, I think pretty much most brothers have been all right for the most part. Maybe brothers have been better off, to be honest with it, because we're Israelites. I mean, those were the first fruits, and the first fruits think in a particular way, man. You take advantage of particular situations, and ultimately there's gonna come a point where we're gonna have to disconnect from this society and go 100% on faith. But ultimately, we're gonna take advantage of particular situations, and you might come out better off. Now, to come back to this article here, this is from Forbes, and this was posted 3 days ago, and it's saying here Kellogg's, right, joins Chipotle, Starbucks, and this just represents a few segments of the market. You might think, okay, that's 3 companies, but really, if Starbucks is raising their prices, then we can assume all the coffee is going to be risen up. Now, if all the coffee is risen up, then the people that's out there that are involved within that market, they're going to be impacted by that. So prices are going to go up all over the place, right? Chipotle, if Chipotle is going up in prices, you better believe, your crackhead chicken around the corner, he's going to go up in price. All right. So there's multiple different companies that you could pull from these a handful of companies that's been mentioned here. Now, when we go back to the rest of the articles here, now check this out. This is the UK, and this was announced about was it 9 days ago? Is it 9 days? Something like that. A few days ago, right? About a week, sorry. And what it's saying here, this is one of the biggest food providers out here within the UK, right? This is one of the major food providers here within the UK, Tesco. It says worst to come for food price rises, Tesco boss says. And Tesco is supposed to be one of the places where you can go out there and get cheap food. Now, personally, I've noticed their prices have been getting quite steep, man. All right, they're quite steep. They're actually more expensive than some of their competitors, and they're saying the worst is yet to come. Now, what this represents is here, because you've got small chain, you can cut costs in certain ways, right? You might be able to think outside of the box, so to speak. But this is a major food provider, right? Now they might be able to cut costs, but at the end of the day, if they're seeing reasons for their prices to go up, then them prices are gonna go up, man. You better believe that. And they're saying the worst is to come. That's one of the chiefs. That's the boss, right? John Allen said the cost of living squeeze will hit the hardest up, right? Still harder. And people look at Britain and they think of London and how people in London live and how they live good. But the reality of the situation, I'm gonna tell you this: most people in the UK are living dirt poor, man. Most people in the UK ain't doing so well. You got a handful of middle class, but the middle class really has been eroded. The days of Sheffield Steel, right? The days of coal mining, the days of industry within the UK that's a thing of the past, man. That old so-called great British Empire, that's done. Same thing goes for America. Now you might see these countries like China and so on and so forth. They might have sent people home, but they still got people working in the factories, man. You see that? They still got people working in the factory, in which when they shut the factories down, for instance, the so-called chip shortage, of which, how can you have a chip shortage for 2 years? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's a setup. That's another thing that's impacting a lot of people. And we're going to see another article here dealing with that, right? But how can you have a so-called chip shortage for years, bro? That don't make no sense. You're telling me the demand is higher than ever, and you could damn near name a price. You could damn near just name a price, man. You're telling me these industries wasn't going to take advantage of that? No, it's a setup. It's a setup. And the people are too blind to see that it's a setup, because ultimately the economy crashing is the end goal of the elite banking families. And this is what we're seeing here with the inflation. This is what we're seeing here. And within a couple of months, look what happened 2 years ago. Look, within a couple of months, people are going to get desperate. You're going to be in them food lines. And if somebody says, look, take this MLTB and everything's going to go back to being so-called normal, people are going to do it. Look what they was doing with the stabbing, free throw and jab. Look what they was doing now. Look what they was doing with the jump shot. You see, people, when they got desperate, they made desperate moves, man. And them desperate moves, look, first jump shot, second jump shot, third jump shot. Come on, bro. So you telling me when inflation hits, and remember, you gotta remember, this modern economic theory is just a theory, right? The idea that a person can just have the ability to print currency forever and ever and ever with no repercussions, that is absolutely ridiculous. Is it 2/3 of the dollars that's ever existed have been printed within the last handful of years? There's gonna be repercussions, man. Right? The fat lady is gonna sing, man. That fat inflation lady, she's gonna sing. And you're seeing it here, man. The worst is yet to come for food prices. Food prices, not petrol prices, all right? Not rent, okay? Which all of those things are gonna go up. We know that. But I'm just trying to make a point here. All of those things are gonna go up, but check it out. We're not talking about rent. We ain't talking about the price of TVs. We ain't talking about the price of holidays. We're talking about the price of food, what's known as a necessity. And so too, like the elder always says here within the UK, whenever you have a situation where the government has to intervene, so the prices, like for instance, you got the so-called gas prices going up now, right? Have I got an article dealing with that? And we could use this. Now the elder mentioned this, and I think it's a beautiful point to ponder on, right? Because it's a beautiful point, really, when you think about it, right? So here it is, we're seeing the UK motorists face record fuel prices as global costs rise. Okay, so that's a global thing that's happening, and you're seeing the prices rise. Now, excuse me. Now, what we know is this: from the last 2 years, when the so-called government had to step in, particular things get centralized. Now, what do you call a system, right? What do you call a system of evening out right? Evening out the supply of food. That's known as rations. Okay, what's the modern way of having rationing cards? It's to digitize everything. You ain't gonna have a rationing book. Food prices by Tesco go up 150%, and you get some rationing books to go into Tesco. No, you're gonna have your name in a database somewhere, right, with your carbon credits next to you, right, monitoring everything that you do to say, okay, you're staying within the measure of the supply. Your demand is not dictating the supply anymore. No. This is the supply, right? You're entitled to 10 eggs per month. You're entitled to 1 kilo of rice every 2 weeks. This is how it's going to be. And that's all going to be digitized. That's all going to be on a database. This is going to be the solution to all of these problems. Revelations, the 13th chapter, and the what do you call it? The 16th verse. This is going to be the solution, man. With all of these things that are happening out here, it ain't going to stop. Look, man, you printed out way too much currency for it to stop. Right now, prices are going to go up. What happens when people, what happens? I forget how the whole thing of a crash happens, but it starts off with inflation and then it goes into deflation or something. I forget how exactly the intricacies of how it works. But what you gonna do what you gonna do when there's no more food? And we saw how quickly that happens, man. We saw how quickly that happens, but you're going to get priced out of the market, right? You're going to panic buy because you're getting priced out. You're going to start stashing food and boom, it's nothing in the shops anymore. I mean, I don't know how exactly the Most High is going to do it, but like it says here within the article, 4 ways you can lower your food bill as prices of staples, not goodies, staples soar by 8%, which is 10%, right? So if your bill goes up 10%, you better believe a lot of people here within the UK, if their bill goes up by 10%, you got to feed five kids, right? And I know people that got like 5 kids. You're on a shoestring budget, man. Your bill goes up 10%, you might be priced out of the market. That's it. You're done. You're out. Live on hunger, man. So when these people when these people experience these things, they're going to get desperate. And they're going to be saying, look, the government needs to step in. And sure enough, they're going to be there waiting because that's the end goal. The government is there waiting for you, man. They're already waiting now. When you get desperate. And then when you get desperate and you say, look, please step in. And then they're going to step in. Say, look, it's the CHIP. Anyways, with that, I'm going to say, oh, praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Mukwa Akodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. And honor to brothers that be pushing his truth in sincerity. Shalom.